Like every decade has that one sector, that one big idea that everyone believes is going to completely change the future. Back in the 2000s, of course, it was the internet. Today, all the talk is about power and energy. So the big question we're going to tackle is this: are we looking at a real, sustainable boom, or are we just setting ourselves up for another bubble?
Okay, before we dive in, just a standard heads up. This is all for educational purposes. It's not financial advice. All the data comes from public sources, and we all know markets have risks, so please make sure you do your own research before making any decisions.
And this really brings us to the core of it, to that slightly uncomfortable question we all have to ask. With all this buzz, all this hype around the power sector, are we genuinely early to a massive opportunity? Or are we just showing up late to the party, caught up in the excitement? Let's really break that down.
So first, let's look at the case for the boom. And it's a powerful one, for sure. It's built on some of the biggest shifts happening in the world today.
A lot of people are calling this the new age of electricity. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Electric vehicles, the absolute explosion in AI, and the giant data centers that power it all. Everything that feels modern runs on electricity. This isn't just some small trend. It's like a fundamental rewiring of our whole economy.
And here's the thing. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky prediction for the future. It's happening right now. We've actually hit a huge milestone where, for the first time ever, renewables have officially passed coal as the #1 source of electricity on the planet. The transition is already here.
Okay, so this whole transition is being fueled by just incredible demand. Let's peel back the story and look at the actual numbers driving this thing.
Right now, renewables make up about a third of all electricity generated globally. Now, to put that into perspective, that share has more than doubled in just the last decade and a half. That just shows you how fast the entire energy mix is changing.
And the pace is just picking up. Solar capacity on its own is growing by nearly 30% a year. At a rate like that, you can double the entire solar infrastructure in under 3 years. It's just wild.
And it's not just solar. Wind power also had a record year, adding 165 gigawatts of new capacity. I mean, what does that number even mean? Well, that's enough new power to light up over 120 million homes in 1 year.
But here's the kicker, the part of the story that I think a lot of people are still underestimating: AI and data centers. Right now, they already eat up about 1.5% of all global electricity, and as you can see, that is expected to double by 2030. AI doesn't just run on brilliant code, it runs on massive and growing amounts of power.
And all this demand, it's not just a theory. It's translating directly into real profits for companies. I mean, look at a company like GE Vernova. They're in the business of building out the grid. Their power segment profits shot up 57%, and their electrification profits, they more than doubled. The money is definitely there. So this all sounds like a done deal, right? The demand is real, the growth is off the charts. But this is the exact moment where we need to pump the brakes, take a breath, and look at some really important lessons from history.
Does anyone remember the dot-com boom? The story was perfect. The internet was going to change everything. And it did. But the NASDAQ stock index first soared nearly 400% and then completely collapsed, wiping out 75% of its value. The technology was a massive success, but a lot of investors got absolutely crushed.
And that wasn't a one-off. We saw a very similar pattern with the oil supercycle. Huge global demand sent crude oil from around $20 a barrel all the way up to 140, right before it crashed back down to 40. Once again, the demand story was real, but your timing was everything.
So you can see this pattern pretty clearly, right? The internet changed the world, but the market bubble burst. Oil had real global demand, but the market crashed hard. And today you have the power sector with real surging demand. But what's the outcome going to be? That question mark, that's where all the risk is hiding.
You see, the common thread in these past booms wasn't that the big idea was wrong. The stories were absolutely right. The problem was how far and how fast the prices in the market ran ahead of the actual, on-the-ground reality.
So how in the world are we supposed to navigate this? How do you avoid getting swept up in all the hype without being paralyzed by the fear of a crash? Well, it starts by asking the right questions. We need a clear framework.
And this means we have to completely change the question we're asking.
We should stop asking, will the power sector grow? Because the data is pretty clear. Yes, it absolutely will. The much better, much smarter question is, at what price am I paying to be a part of that growth? That simple shift changes everything.
So here's a super simple 3-step framework. First, ask yourself about the story. Has this whole idea become so obvious that it's literally all anyone is talking about? Second, look at the price. Are stock prices rising way faster than the company's actual profits are? And third, check your own gut. Be honest. If this thing dropped 30 or 40% tomorrow, would you stick with it or would you panic?
And that distinction right there is everything. If you don't have really clear answers to those 3 questions, you're probably not investing. You're just reacting. You're following the excitement and chasing the crowd.
Which really brings us to the final, most important takeaway here. Yes, the world is absolutely entering a new age of electricity, but history teaches us this one powerful lesson. When a story becomes this popular, this obvious, the real risk isn't about whether the sector will succeed or fail. The real risk shifts to the price you pay to play the game.
Follow us at PhanKK for more explainers like this that give you clarity, not just more noise. We don't chase the narratives, we try to break them down. And if you want to understand how to approach this whole space the right way, feel free to reach out. We're here to help you think clearly, not just act quickly.